Garner, and for intercession, I will be teaching writing to you guys, and I'm so excited to have this opportunity for me to teach because writing is one of my absolute favorite things to do. It's one of those things that if we continue to practice and build upon certain skills, we get better and better, and it begins to get rewarding when you write something really well, and people begin to tell you how great of a writer you are, and they want to read more of what you write and what you have to say. So today, we will begin working with our writing tags to make us all better writers, so people are interested in what we have to say. So the first thing we are going to do is cover our objectives, and we have 2 objectives for today. The only thing that I ask is that when I ask a question, that we raise our hands so that we all don't talk at once. We respect everybody around us. This is a learning environment, and I want everybody to have fun so we can learn to do things and get some great new skills. So the first objective, can I have volunteers to read that for me? Okay, Kiara. I can explain with informational text on the second objective. I love the enthusiasm. Go ahead, Anthony.
I can break down the increasing impression.
Try that word again for me.
Intercession.
Intercession. I can break down the intercession essay prompt. So we're going to read it one more time together as a class. The first one says,
I can explain what informational texts are.
Awesome job. And the second one says,
I can break down the intercession essay prompt.
yes. So what I want us to keep in mind today is that we'll be going to a very big prompt. Has a lot of big words. We won't understand it the first time we read it. So when we look at it, I don't want us to get scared because I understand that we won't understand it the first time. But we'll break it down so that by the time we start writing our essay, we will understand each component and we'll be able to write our essay successfully. So the first thing we're going to do is have a little talk about what happens when we read things. So the first question I'm going to pose is, can we trust everything that we read? And before we answer that question, I want you guys to take about 30 seconds to turn and talk to your neighbor at level 1 and discuss, can you trust everything you read, why or why not? Anthony, you can come around, Antonio, you can come around and join this group right here, and you guys can turn and talk right there, or you guys can turn and talk to Antonio. Or would you like to? Yes, okay, so I still want you guys to turn and talk because we get to share ideas. We might learn a different points of view. Okay, guys, check me. So, I heard some very interesting conversations going on about whether or not we can trust everything that we read. So, I'm going to go around and see what each group stated so we can discuss this as a class. Okay, let's see. What did your group discuss?
We discussed it. Do kids really need to change that? Because everybody, once in a while, everybody will have to.
But what does that mean in terms of the question that we were trying to talk to discuss? Can we trust everything that we read?
No.
No. Antonio, what do you say? Do you think we can trust everything that we read? Okay, so we've decided that we cannot trust everything that we read. Why aren't we able to trust everything we read? Go ahead, Karen. Because what? Because some of it may be lies. So then I pose another question to you. If we are unable to trust everything that we read, when we read a text, what should we do in order to evaluate whether or not we can trust what we're reading? What should we do, or what are we looking for to decide whether or not we can trust the words that we're reading? So when we do our science experiments in science class, right? We do the experiment and we look for what to see if our experiment has gone right. What tells us if our experiment has gone right? It's a big old word, it starts with an E. And when we
Evaluate.
not evaluate, when we're doing science experiments, or when we are posing an argument, or when we're writing an evidence, we look for evidence. Calm down, remember we raise our hands when we want to talk so that we don't talk out of turn. So we look for evidence when we are trying to evaluate whether the words in the text are words that we can trust. So today what we're going to go over is what is an informational text, and we'll be able to break down our prompt. So the first thing we need to do is to get a working definition of what an informational text is. So off the top of your head, will somebody volunteer and tell me what they think an informational text is? Go ahead, Anthony.
Informational text, like
Explaining evidence, not quite, we'll take care of it.
Gives a lot of details, like about information and
So make sure that we're tracking the speaker and not inside conversation. So it's a text that gives us information. Does anybody else have any other addition to that definition of text that gives us information? Go ahead and say what you're doing.
I have favorite.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a definition that I need you to write down. So I need you to take out a sheet of blue sleep so that you can write down the definition of informational text, so that as we go throughout the process today, you can keep this on your paper and in your mind so that you understand what's going on. So we have about 10 seconds to gather the paper. We should be seated. I see Kiara has her paper out, ready and ready. Antonio is getting his paper out. Then Shay is taking her paper out of the binder. Danielle is proceeding to write down the definition on the board. I'd just like to commend you guys on your focus today. You've been really attentive and seem really excited about what we're doing in this lesson, and that makes me really excited because we get to do some really great things. One of my favorite things to do. Once you have out your sheet of paper, you should proceed to writing down the definition of informational text so we can break down this definition. We're at a 10-second warning, about 10 more seconds, and then we'll wrap up writing a definition so we can discuss it as a whole. I see Antonio is ready because he's tracking the board and his pencil is on his paper. Good job, Antonio. Okay, who wants to volunteer and read me the very first point of the informational text? Go ahead and Jay.
Chapter 9. Information text. Chapter 9. Vision and your recording text. 9 to the satisfaction.
So what are some keywords that we see in that first sentence? Go ahead and yell. It's text. Okay, and what type of text specifically is it? Go ahead, Kiara. It's a non-fictional text. So the important point that I want you to take from this is what, Kiara? about what somebody has done, about what we're gonna read about, where it talks about why kids need recess, or should they have recess, or is it an important part of your day. Any type of text that will give us facts about something, those are the types of texts that are made up of informational text. So, the very next thing we need to tackle is our prompt, which although it looks very big on the board, there are lots of words in there that we may not understand yet. We're going to break it down, so I don't want you guys to get scared by what you see. I just want you to be ready to tackle it. So, I'm going to read the prompt the first time. I will have you guys then read it as a class, and then we will break into groups to work on breaking down the prompt. So, our prompt is to write an essay that evaluates the argument and specific claims made by each author. Then analyze how the authors present key information by emphasizing different evidence or advancing different interpretations of the facts to support their arguments. So I want us to read it again as a class, because I think if you hear me reading and then you read it and see it, our brains are allowed a little bit more time to process before we begin diving into breaking the prompt apart. So let's begin. Write an essay that evaluates the argument and specific claims made by each author. Then analyze how the author presents key information by emphasizing different evidence or advancing different interpretations of the facts to support their arguments. Awesome. What you're going to do now is take 30 seconds to write down the prompt. So I should see everybody's pencil to their paper, and they should be writing down the prompt. Antonio, should be writing his prompt. Noticing that we need just a little bit more time to write on our prompt, so I will just give you guys a few more seconds to finish writing down your prompt. Make sure that you write it down completely, because you will then use what you write down to go through the rest of the assignments for the day. I will know that you're finished writing down your prompt when your pencils are flat on your desk and your eyes are tracking the board. Excellent. So definition is ready and waiting. Erica is ready and waiting. Our next task is to work within the groups